We are live. Let us know in the chat if we are not. But it is Thursday. It's that time again. It is time for Geek Speak. And today we are talking about yearly reviews. What do you do to check your. What do you do to check what's going on for you and your business? And how do you make sure to plan for next year based on what's gone on this year? And today I'll introduce myself. I am Phelan. I am with Seymour Digital Media with Pip, and we focus on search engine marketing.
Hi, I'm Rena from Little Works Indie Media, and we have a full service agency in Vancouver.
Awesome, awesome. And I got the notification that we are live. Hopefully, audio is all running smooth. Uh, okay, so when we were talking about this, when we were doing kind of the prep and talking about the general topic of yearly reviews, we definitely a theme almost emerged almost immediately, which we found that with so we don't do yearly reviews with clients. Was a big thing that just to kind of so we can spend the rest of the time talking about the where we are looking at the yearly reviews. But to start off, we were looking at like the clients, and we don't really do them with clients for yearly reviews. Mostly, I think we could agree that it's just too long to plan for an entire year, and too many things can change. I mean, last 2 years have
Yeah.
been pretty good examples of wacky big
Yes.
changes, and so planning for a whole year is very ambitious, and you're probably gonna have to throw out those plans anyway.
Well, I'd like to interject here for a sec.
Oh
So,
yeah, definitely.
yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. But I just want to make it super clear that that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have an annual marketing plan or an annual
Yeah,
business plan. So, what we do is we go with the goals. We go with your annual goals and we try and organize that monthly and we review our results monthly. And that's what we do with our clients. So, there's a
yeah.
big distinction between those two things, I think.
Yes, yeah. I think you did a better job articulating the where the differences are in that part. And it's not to not have a goal. It's more that making a year-long plan is a little overly ambitious because it might just change on a dime. And so it's not to have no plan at all. It's that you're going to be reviewing it more than once a year. Is what we're.
Yeah. So if we think about, I think we had a video a few weeks ago where we talked about campaigns and planning campaigns. And if you think about your campaigns being planned throughout the year, then you really want to actually be measuring those more regularly than once a year. You can sort of flesh out your ideas for those. You can get your sales goals and projections organized, and then we have something to measure with on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there are some annual things that we do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. So one of the big ones that I think Pip and I were doing more this year. I know Pip's deep in the weeds with that one. I think she talked to you, Rena, about it recently. Was looking at one of the big ones is acquisition. Where are you actually getting clients from, or where are you getting business from, and
Yeah.
how much time are you spending? How much are you getting back? So you may be making $30,000 from one group, but if it takes you 20 hours to do it each month, is that worth your time versus one where you're doing the same amount, but it's only 4 hours of work that went into that. So, you're
Yeah. So
uh,
there are a couple of things I look at when I talk to clients about this because it's actually really important to know the distinction of effort versus rewards. That's for
mm,
sure. But if you're not, if you look at, say, for example, a lot of people look at Twitter, they don't think that they actually make very much revenue from Twitter, but Twitter is not really a revenue gaining space, in my opinion. It's a place where you make referral partners and you get to know people in your industry. So you have to kind of be really clear about what you're measuring on each platform, and also the same thing can happen in those real life spaces like networking spaces. I think is one of the things that Pip and I we were talking about, and that is like if where can you go to meet your referral partners who's going to bring you multiple clients, not just one or two, or so that you're not selling to one or two people at the,
Yeah.
individually. You're not knocking them off. You're getting a whole bunch all at once. So that's super important. But also, the other thing that I think that sometimes people misunderstand is that if they're putting all of their money into Google Ads, then hopefully Google Ads are creating the biggest results. That doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't untapped opportunities.
Yeah.
You have to look at, did you test in Facebook, or are
Yeah.
you just assuming that you don't make anything in Facebook, so you should not do Facebook? Because my one favorite case study on Google Ads was never doing Google Ads previous to working with us and had a very specific bias. He had tried Google Ads with I guess, not a particularly good service provider and got no returns on those ads, and therefore assumed that that meant that Google Ads wasn't going to work for his particular company, when in fact it was spectacular once he got the right service provider. So always go into it with that mind. Is this something that's not working, or is this something that is just an untapped opportunity?
Yeah.
So that's one thing to look at. And sometimes you need a professional to help you navigate what the expectations should be, or what you're actually looking at in terms of numbers. Like what are you actually looking at here?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I would expand on that a little bit to say one of the things that we track on our side when we're doing acquisition of our sales is like the multiple steps that it took. Oh, I met them at this group, but then it got someone like they saw me on a live, and you want to keep track of all those points on the
Right.
journey if you can. It's going to be difficult and you have to be very cognizant of it, but it will help you out a great deal like acquisition is such a hard I think we said we were going to talk about it at one point, which you should probably put that on the
On hold. On
well, no,
hold.
on the
Yeah.
lot, like put it on the
Yeah.
list for the new year.
Yes,
uh
definitely.
yeah, but
Because
it's the
because
acquisition and knowing, like, because it's not just that one moment at the start and it's not the last one, right? It's the whole
that's right.
journey as well
Yes,
that's
and
going to be important.
yes, and the place that you can find a lot of that information is in Google Analytics, where they have, especially when talking about Google Ads, because I actually just recently learned this from my provider, and that is the assisted conversion. So
Yeah.
there's this neat little spot in Google Analytics that will tell you if the ad's actually assisted. So you may have not gotten a direct sale on that particular ad. And sometimes when you look at your conversion number, it doesn't look that great. But as soon as you go into the assisted conversion section and you see that, okay, they may not have used that link at the very last minute before they purchased, but they did use that link at some point in the process. So therefore, the Google Ads did assist in that conversion, which is super important information to know, because some people just look at that actual conversion dollar number, and
Yeah.
that's not an accurate picture. And secondly, the thing that I'm constantly harping on is that when you use ads from either Facebook or Google Ads, it always helps with your organic search results. So even if you're getting like more sales through organic, but you're still getting quite a bit of sales through search, um,
Paid
Google Ads,
ads. Yeah.
paid ads. Thank you. It can still be. It's a holistic thing. We actually traverse through the internet, um, not in a linear way,
Yes.
right? Not in a linear way. So you have to sort of understand, like, we use interruption marketing in Facebook that warms the audience up, and then Google might help assist or get them on the actual I'm now ready to buy it. And what was that company's name again? And I'm going to Google in the search queries into Google. And oh, yes, here's that company that I saw a month ago when I was actually didn't even realize I had a problem. So all of that together needs to be pieced together. And it's not the easiest thing to do. Um,
Yeah.
and so having a professional actually looking out at that for you. And, if you do want a yearly thing, I think that we all do strategy um, proposals, right?
Yeah.
Paid strategy proposals that can really help you identify where your opportunities are, where things are coming from already, and help you navigate these kinds of things. And it's really funny because we didn't really talk a lot about on our prep,
No, no,
but
I was just thinking
we
that
talked
as
about
well.
something else. So
Yeah.
should we sort of wrap it back and
Well,
get back to where we were?
I
Where we
just
were?
wanted to clarify something for
Mm,
people listening. Just because I know exactly where the spot you're talking about in Google Analytics. It's one of my favorite spots. It's called the
yeah.
multi-channel funnel.
Oh,
So if
thank
you're
you.
in Google
Yeah.
Analytics, if you're in the UA, so the legacy version, you go to conversions, then multi-channel funnel, and then you'll see top conversion path. So you can even get the time between each point and how many days it took from first point of contact to the last.
Yeah.
So that all really helps as well. And in the new one, it is under engagement. Yes,
Yes.
and it's called life cycle or something like that. It's there's not as many tabs, so it's easier to find in Google Analytics 4, but it does a very similar thing as well. Um,
Right.
yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that all the people listening at home can go and check that out because it's definitely one that once that opens up, that yeah, it's a bit of a game changer there of seeing it. Like you said, it takes like
Great.
what 42 points of contact nowadays before someone makes a
Is
sale, something
it
ridiculous like
really
that.
42 or did you
But that's
just
what they
make that
claim,
up?
though. You know,
Really?
I'm always
What happened to
suspicious.
7? I liked 7. 7 was a good number. It felt achievable.
Yeah, yeah. It's I also how do they know? Like
I don't know.
that's one of those ones where I'm like, sure, okay.
It's
Uh,
like it takes 5 years to become an overnight success. I mean, how
yeah,
did
yeah,
they
yeah.
measure
Let's
that?
Yeah, and someone had commented that it was lol 42 million. So yes, basically that it could be any various number that they've
Yes.
decided. Uh, we know it's more than one. The important point is it's more than one. That's the takeaway here. Uh,
That's right.
yeah, and so yeah, so circling back to what we talked about a lot more in our discussion was more for ourselves, the business as well, the
Yes.
finances, and making sure
Yes.
we're all on track because that's a big one that businesses need every year, and not all of us have like our accounting skills are not the best, and so yes, we need to be very cognizant of that part as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, do you want to go into that because you had a lot to
Yeah.
say on the subject?
Yes. I actually have, when I was hit by a car, all of a sudden my cognitive skills were a little bit on the lacking side. So I created this system that came from a previous iteration that a financial planner, no, actually, sorry, it was a mortgage broker who gave me this spreadsheet to start with, and I've added to it. So what I do is I track some things annually and some things monthly and some things weekly. And so, and it all feeds in. So the what I spend, my budget, my net worth statement, which is how I'm doing overall. That number hopefully is either going down if you're in debt or up if you're not in debt, depending on who you are. And then the third one, but you always want to see it going in the right direction. And then the third one is the sales projections and the sales goals. And all of these things for me are living in one spreadsheet, and I review it. Oh, and my referral tracking, my lead tracking, referral tracking. So all of that is in one spreadsheet because what I find as somebody who has ADHD, if it's not in front of my face regularly, I forget, and I get sidetracked with all of the other busyness stuff and business. So my system is really simple, super easy. So once a month, on the first of the month, I track all of my accounts and put it into my spreadsheet for my net worth statement, and it tells me where I am. And then my budget is how I organize. It's kind of like how I organize my sales goals, and then my net worth tracks everything else. So I'm a sole proprietor, but this works really well for an incorporated business, also, especially if you're a solopreneur or a small business. And so what I do is I have one, and I'm going to share the template so everyone could see it and try it out if they want to. Basically, I have all of my monthly business expenses, all of my personal business expenses, all of my monthly annual expenses, all of my personal annual expenses. Everything is laid out on there. The beginning of compiling this is a little bit tedious, but it's so helpful. And so what happens is all of the subtotals, not subtitles, subtotals get funneled into one, And basically it tells me whether or not my revenue is bigger than my cost. So I know my break even point right away for my whole business. And then I know how much I want to make on a monthly basis. And then that becomes my sales goals money wise. Then I move it all over onto um, eh, um, my sales projections, where I make all of my goals and I break them down into monthly goals for each product that I have, and then I can stay course on that much easier. And then what happens is for my monthly goals, for my cash flow, which is a part of my monthly expense. I track that weekly, and I've worked it out to weekly because you get those annoying 5-week months, and then all of a sudden your budget's hooped. So I've actually worked it out so that it's actually a weekly amount, and then I multiply that and divide it and get it so that it works out. And then my monthly stuff, we were talking about this. I know it sounds very confusing how I'm organizing this, but once you see the spreadsheet's going to be clear because it's all color coded.
Yeah.
And so the annual expenses I break down into a monthly amount. I toss that money aside so that when the annual expenses come up, there's cash to pay for them. It's never a surprise. It's never a burden. It works really well. And so those are sort of the cornerstones. And then my weekly, what happens is I've got a little app on my phone and I track my weekly. So if I've decided that my whatever my petty cash is, it covers, incidentals, I think they call them. And then I track them weekly and I start on a Sunday because if I start on a Saturday, which I used to try, I would be out of money by Sunday. If you started on a Sunday, that's your food prep day. If you do food prep, so you
Yeah.
have your groceries covered and you can eat for the whole week. And then whatever I have left over on Saturday is what I get to go out with. So it determines my entertainment for the weekend, which is a good system for me because I like to go out and sometimes I'll overspend in that arena. So I will put the link to the template. It's really easy to follow. And then every week I go through my Visa statement, or if you work through cash on your account, whatever, however you pay for things, you want to make sure that every single thing is accounted for in your weekly budget, um, in your monthly budget, in your annual budget, and you'll just continually shift until you've got most of your everything is sort of laid out on the spreadsheet. And then what happens is as that changes, so as you give raises, as prices of things go up, you have to redo that number, and then your numbers at the bottom and your shift a little bit, and you always know how much you need to sell that month in order to break even and or make a profit, and your profit goals, whatever that is. And that's what I have to say on that. So that's what I do monthly, weekly, and annually, and I think that it keeps me focused. And then I check that my funnels spreadsheet, which is my referrals and lead tracking, uh, on Wednesdays. I do that every Wednesday, so I know who do I need to reach out to, if it looks like one of my leads is going to stall for a few months or fall off the thing, then I look to see who's next, who I can try to work out my sales goals with. So, or if I need to go to another networking group, or if I need to start running an ad or two or something like that to make sure that that trickle continually comes in.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for getting. I kind of think of it like an audit you would do for your own marketing. Is you're figuring out where you are in order to figure out like where you're going to go next. Because like if you're not
Yes.
figuring out that part, then you're not going to be able to make any plans because you need to know what's going on before you can
Yes.
move forward. And so,
Yes, yes. And then I don't have to panic all the time at the end of the month because I found that's what I was doing. I felt like I was working super hard for the whole month, and then the last week I would realize, "Oh my goodness, my bank account doesn't match what it should," and I'm hooped. And I did that for like a year or two or something before I got on this program, and now I'm never really totally, well, touch wood, not
yeah,
totally hooped anymore. Not as hooped as I used to be. So my stress level has gone down, and when your stress level goes down as a business owner, your quality of life goes up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Can I get
It,
an amen?
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's the you try to put out as many fires as you can, and so there's no point in causing yourself extra. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely I'm there with you that it's definitely one that is yeah it's ever present. Sorry, just moving some windows around. Um, yeah, the Ecamm is not very good on a laptop. There's not enough space for all the windows that Ecamm wants to use. Uh, but anyway, yeah. So, and that ties in really well, I think, with looking at your sales plan and where you are and where you're going to be spending your time and what's going to be
Yeah.
worth your expenses for the business.
Yeah.
Is definitely I think that yeah, knowing your budget and knowing that part of it and knowing where your money's going and
Yeah.
what's getting, that they all kind of tie together that
Yeah.
thinking about the operations and the financing of your business and then knowing how that will affect your marketing plan because there's only X
Yeah.
number of hours and X number of dollars that you're
Yeah.
ostensibly going to make.
For
Uh,
sure.
yeah, and it's
And
definitely one where you also in you're doing that, especially when you do like a monthly or yearly one, you could look at do I need this software tool? Could I incorporate these ones down and then start to plan of like how you're going to shift it and then reduce your budget overall with your
that's right. So yeah, yeah, so I like the things that I've got. I've reduced my expenses down to the point where I'm happy. And now oh well, actually it's not like I'm happy, but what it is that I don't want to have to give up any of these things. So the opposite thing of reducing costs is increase revenue to cover those costs. So
yeah
you get to make your decisions. At the beginning, sure, at the beginning I was like, "Oh, I don't need this tool. What am I doing paying for this? I can't even remember the last time I looked at it." And it's really great also to go through your credit card like that with that kind of scrutiny if you're not doing this already, because when I was head insured, I couldn't tell you how many subscriptions I signed up for that I hadn't realized. And I don't think it's only people who are head injured who do that concussed. I think that we all do that, where it's like, what is this cost anyways? And then you do the work and you figure out that it's something that you're not using, or you forgot about, or so you didn't realize was a subscription, or you thought you signed up for the 30 days and you thought you had um, deleted that subscription, and then there you are getting invoiced every month for that.
yeah
um,
yeah that's
and
it's
then
definitely one yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I think I was Dan Martell, who's a gentleman who does a lot of SaaS founders and helps them with scaling. That talked about
yeah.
death by 1,000 SaaS cuts. So
Oh,
you
right.
sign up for
Yeah.
like a bunch
Yes,
of
that's
products,
right.
and then they're all like $10 to $50 a month, and then when you actually go back and review, and especially if they're
Yeah,
per
it's
head,
like
then
a
all of a sudden you're like, I've got a $40,000 a month SaaS product
that's
bill,
right.
and you're like, is there some way we could reduce this maybe?
That's
So
right.
you can really
That's right.
let it get out of hand. And so, yeah, it's definitely one to keep an eye on and definitely make sure that you're getting the most out of it before you start adding another tool onto there.
That's right. And the other thing I wanted to say is that in my referral and lead, I call it my referral document, but it's really my lead document. I mark where the referrals come from. And then I looked and I also number how many referrals come from each person and the dollar amount. So then I know who to continue relationships with. You know what I mean? Like building those really good, deep relationships, and who to thank and who should, get an extra special gift at holiday time because they've just helped me grow my business so much, that kind of thing. It really helps because otherwise, you don't always notice. And, you get so busy. Again, you just can get so busy with the day to day busyness of running a business. I think now that's why they call it a business, because you're just busy.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's any etymology in there, but I'm going to go with it.
I feel like there probably is. It
Yeah.
definitely, I'd never put that two and two together, but like it definitely makes sense that it would be busyness would become business. And
Yeah.
that, yeah, so yeah, in that funny way that English language has a really weird, like,
Yep.
the history of words there is can be very
Yep.
interesting.
And one of the other things that I found really helpful with this plan is when you actually start to organize your annual expenses and divide that up by a monthly amount that you're going to stash away. That can also help you do two things. It can help you reduce your amount of interest that you're paying, because you can actually literally stash that on your Visa, because you pay all of your expenses on your Visa card. So it'll help you reduce the interest if you're carrying any debt on your Visa or your line of credit. So it can be super helpful in really getting a handle on everything. So that's why I really like it, because I always hated those surprise things. It's like you knew that your insurance is coming up, you
Yeah.
know it, and you know it's a hefty amount, but it's like somehow in that month, unless you've been stashing money away, you don't always have that, especially if you're in the beginning phases of your business where you don't have a huge amount of cash flow, or your projects are getting bigger and your cash flows sort of come,
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
don't have enough cash on hand to go deal with,
Mhm.
$1,000 that just came up, and you're,
Yeah,
yeah, balancing it all and having enough reserve
yeah.
because, yeah,
And
it's
and then
definitely
if you're
one. Oh,
And
go
then
ahead.
if you're brilliant enough to not have any debt, which I aspire to have, or at least, have good debt. They call it good debt and bad debt. I don't really know what that is, but the other side of it, before I had my car accident, I used to throw all that money into a high interest savings account. And then you're doing something good with that amount while you're waiting for those expenses to show up.
Yeah.
So either or, it's just it's helpful
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
for
that.
sure. Yeah, and it's definitely one to keep that in mind is to just have that cash on hand and amortize like the cost of annual products over the whole year, which is definitely yeah, it's just going to make your life easier and also make your calculating easier for, you know that you got to save it and you know that you got to like
Yeah,
hold X amount and you
yeah,
know that it's for these things when it comes up and so there's like it's good to have on hand. I was also going to say that it just kind of reminded me of because another thing is kind of going into marketing plans and marketing strategies as well. Of you can look at activities that you're doing and also find ways to make new connections between them will give you a good
yes,
opportunity as well that
yes,
you can also not only help out other people and expand your network or expand like other ways that you could tie different oh we were doing the classes we were teaching online, is there a way we could repurpose those videos now and like figuring out new
yeah,
ways that you could reuse stuff you were doing and now could we expand that
absolutely.
out to new ways of getting your message out there or reusing that content.
That's right. Reusing content is one of the best things, because you have to have, well, in my opinion, you should have an SEO person who's updating the markup on those blog posts. Let's say they're blog posts on those blog posts, and hopefully, if you're working with video, those videos have become a blog post. Um, so you're going to be reworking that content anyways. So at the same time, once you've reworked it for better SEO potential, then you want that extra distribution. So I always find that to be the best. Well, everyone knows my stance on content. Create less content and more distribution, you know, and be lazy with your content, people. There's no point in posting every day on social if it's not getting anywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
If it only gets in front of 150 people, then creating that much content is a waste of resources,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah. I agree with you there. It's definitely one that uh, also looking at like is there some way we could utilize cutting out a clip or something like that because that's a big one that's been going on for the podcasting community
All right.
is that they make smaller clips and then put those up as either TikToks or YouTube
Oh, right.
shorts. And
Yeah.
so it's about also realizing that there's other formats that you're not utilizing that could easily be, oh, could we extract a little bit here, make that more of a top
Yes.
of funnel part. So now you're thinking about it more as the cohesive like funnel and how is
Yeah.
this content, I repurpose this like middle tier or middle of the funnel content into something that's top of the funnel and way for
Yes.
someone to find you.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So all of that stuff is a lot of work, and it takes a little bit of strategy and a little bit of savvy, but it is possible to do with not too much effort, if you
Yeah.
know what you're doing. So, or you can outsource it. It's perfectly fine to outsource it.
Yeah.
That's also option too, especially once you start getting into being able to do if you've got some budget and you're able to spend your time doing the sales part of it or actually outputting the work for your clients, then you really want to get that marketing piece out of your it's like the admin stuff. You get the admin stuff out first because it's low value. You get the marketing stuff out because it's actually high value, and you want a professional doing it properly for you.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, especially in social, this drives me absolutely batty. They always think that because they can make a post that they're actually doing social, or that they can use Yoast on their blog article, and that makes it that they've done their SEO. It's like knowing how to use the tool is not really how to do cohesive marketing. And that's one thing that makes me crazy. And I've actually stopped trying to explain it to certain people because if they want to do it themselves, then do it yourself. But it's not the same as what a professional is doing for you.
Yeah.
Although there are lots of different levels of professionalism out there. It depends on what their background is and their strategy and their approach.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I would just say going off that one as well, be if you are hiring professionals to be doing the audits, make sure that your incentives are all aligned, right? If they're just trying
Yes,
to, if they're going to sell you this magical service that they have, be cognizant of that part as well. Like we're all we've all got our own motivations, and so just be aware of what theirs are. And it's not that it's bad to have like motivations of your own or the other person to have them. It's just make sure you're both working together for your business to grow and it makes sense for both sides. Uh,
that's right.
so
That's right.
yeah, it looks like we've come
We're
to
out of
time.
time. Yeah.
And I did look it up, and business actually
Great.
is busyness, and that is actually the
Oh,
etymology of it.
yay.
It originally
Awesome.
came from the Middle English from anxiety or
That's exact. Oh
yeah,
my goodness. It couldn't be more on point.
yeah. It was like, oh, it's too good a detail not to add here, but yeah, it's definitely yeah.
That's
There's a
right.
fair bit of anxiety that goes with it, but
That's-
that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But
Oh, thank
anyway,
you for looking that up.
yeah, no problem. So yeah, just and again, we've been talking about yearly reviews, why you need them, and my name is Phelan,
And I'm Rena.
and I believe it is you and Pip next week,
I
from
believe it
when I checked.
is.
Yes,
But I forgot the topic already. I looked it up even this
I've
morning.
I've absolutely blanked out what it was. I saw the names, and
Oh,
that's all that stuck in my memory. So anyway, bye for
it
now
should
until
be
we see you
good.
next
I
week.
think it was a good one though. I just can't remember what. Darn. Okay. Anyways, I'm not going to go on about it.
We'll
I
make
don't
it a
remember.
surprise.
Yeah, it's a surprise topic, but it's good.
Yeah, there you go.
See you next week.
Yeah, bye.